White privilege. Ah, yes, a buzzword used by those in this country either too lazy to learn anything, to earn anything on their own, too immature and irresponsible to admit their own hand in their problems, or corrupt enough to play the aforementioned two types for their own gain. Recognize this. This is a water dipper. Back in the days before running water, this is how you dispensed water before the modern conveniences of faucets, hot and cold taps, and pre-bottled overpriced H2O. For my family, until I was 7 or 8 years old, this was us. You see, we were poor. My mother and father were divorced, and my mother worked hard, but we had no running water for a while. No cable television. No telephones. My brothers had to put bread sacks over their feet to gather firewood because we could afford no boots. We had no central heat, and we had a stove to keep the house warm. We were not black. We were not a minority. We likely had less than most black people these days. We didn't have a multi-million-dollar record deal from pretending to be disadvantaged or poor like Kanye West and his ilk, this crybaby who makes his fortune on the black community's Democrat-failed self-pity. We didn't get $5 million from writing books like Mr. Obama, a man who owes his presidency to the fact that addle-brained whites and a black community, spoon-fed generations of racist self-pity, voted against a man because his skin didn't have as many melanin cells as the moron who actually won. We didn't have an entertainment empire gained from putting on display this country's lowest common denominator and bitterly wishing that people different from her would just die. We didn't make a career out of forging the Democrat masses chains on the blacks in the urban plantations, chains made of self-pity, misplaced blame, and ignorance. We didn't sell out our community by blaming our situation on others in an effort to keep our overlords back at the big house in control so the community could go on picking the new slave crop for their masters, demographics, and votes. White privilege. Little more is more annoying than a bully who bullies people by claiming victimhood. Black community, you are a victim. You have been voting Democrat for over half a century or more. You have been voting people into office to represent you, who have been claiming they will put an end to poverty, an end to crime, an end to broken homes, to gangs, to drugs. Yet all these things remain. You see, Jesse, Al, Barack, they don't want you to succeed. But if someone actually gives the donkey the carrot, he won't carry them around anymore, will he? When you figure this one out, I, for one, will have one more reason to rejoice in the fact that I am not an urban white liberal. You have a black president, black attorney general, black television stations, black Supreme Court justices, generals, governors, Fortune 500 millionaires, more athletes than anyone can count, and more opportunities here in the land you cursed for the forced immigration of your ancestors 200 years hence than you would have had ever possessed in the land they came from. Those of you who want reparations, don't make me laugh. The fact that you're not dying in tribal wars between warlords, having your females' genitalia mutilated, or being eaten by a plethora of zoo animals is more than payment in full, if you ask me. So don't presume to come at me with reparations on your lips, or I will suggest that you be repatriated to the land of your ancestors, where more than likely you will be killed by some strange disease, and possibly eaten, mauled to death by any number of native species. If you're watching this, you have a computer and electricity. How do you suppose you have this? Would you have had this in most of Africa? If you did, it was because that people other than you made it happen. When Shaka was fighting the British, he did it with spears, shields, and axes. The British had infields and Gatling guns. Why didn't he have guns? Why was Africa behind technologically? My point, prior to the European arrival in Africa, Africa was barely into the Iron Age in places and still in the Stone Age in others, and there was no whitey to keep them down. So, what happened? Slavery. You do realize the opening image of Roots of African natives being hunted down in the jungles by white slavers is nonsense, right? First off, someone got captured by complete strangers who do not know the terrain in their own backyard, where they worked, hunted, and lived every single day. Somehow this lacks the ring of truth. Second, the slavers were Arabs and Africans. Yet many black separatists, black supremacists, and black militants adopt Islam, the religion of their enslavers, not the religion of their liberators. It was Christians who freed you, not the Muslims. News flash, ladies and gents. They're in conspiracy with the Democrats to keep you down. The myth of white privilege is a means used by your enslavers to keep you in political bondage, while at the same time using your rage and the guilt of the weak-minded in the white community to enlarge their own bank accounts. Even if you completely took every red cent from every white person, the politicians would pocket it. If you ever get anything, they lose all power over you, and they just can't have that. Can they now? White privilege. The media, your Democrat masters and their ivory towers and their race baiters would have you to believe that every white person wants to kill you. But it's not the Aryan nation that's coming to Chicago to kill your kids. And that's a societal problem, not the fault of a piece of machinery like a gun. That's just an inanimate object. It's not the Klan who comes into Harlem, Watts, and kills people because of what color bandana they sport. That would be your own number. Perhaps if you'd policed your own and stopped glorifying the criminal lifestyle of a few, there'd be fewer Michael Browns and Trayvon Martins. Their blood's not on the hands of the men who were forced to shoot them. Your society aimed that gun at them long before Zimmerman walked down that street or that cop in Missouri drew his sidearm. Think about that, ladies and gentlemen. Von Mads Benham, signing out.